it got to the point where I was coming to work, and it's, some of the doors, they have like a little window you can look through before you walk into a building.
Mm-hmm.
I would look through the little window, and if I saw someone coming down the hall, I would wait until they would leave before I would walk into the office, because I didn't want to see anybody. So that's when I knew, hey, you got to go. This is not working out for you. You need to go. So I left a almost 20-year career working as an aerospace engineer, and basically quit and moved to South Africa. And I've been here since last year.
I'm Felina Jean, and this is Black Broads Abroad. I'm an international woman of leisure who said peace out to the United States in 2011, and I have not looked back, accepted this ass, honey. Since then, I've lived on 4 continents with travel to over 40 countries. Along my journey, I've come to know some very compelling Black women from all over the world who also said fuck you to their comfort zones. I created this podcast to inspire Black women in the diaspora to take risks and live their very best lives. Kenna L Williams, LLC, was founded by Miss Williams in 2017 by force. For years, she conducted the infamous trademark Dubai Blackout trips as a hobby, but friends convinced her to turn her passion of showing people the world into something greater to inspire others to travel. Miss Williams is known in travel circles as the creator of the trademark phrase, book that ish, and one of the survivors of the Panama 13 accident of 2015. She has been featured in Essence Magazine, Huffington Post, and various travel blogs and outlets. Miss Williams is an aerospace engineer by trade, but her real passion is exploration, as she is a descendant of the explorer Matthew Henson. Ms. Williams hosts several group trips throughout the year, and she also provides travel consulting and planning plus private hire. Welcome, Kenna.
Hi, thank you for having me today.
Thank you for being a guest. So I'll give like a little bit of backstory to how we even became acquainted with one another, because like obviously the same circles, like OGs of No Madness Travel Tribe, like circa 2011. And I've bumped into you probably on like at least 3 different continents, but
Yes.
we've never at least, but we've never had a real conversation. So I'm excited to do this interview with you. So
Awesome. Thank you.
my first question is, how are you doing? We're both in Johannesburg, quarantined as fuck, in our respective flats. And you, my dear, are a self-professed extrovert. So how are you particularly doing during this lockdown?
Well, as someone that is, I don't know if I'm a self-processed extrovert, I like to think of myself as a extroverted introvert as I'm learning. But this lockdown has been quite interesting for me. As you know, we spent the first 5 weeks on a very serious lockdown. Now we're going into week 3 of a modified level 4 lockdown. And this lockdown has, I've gained a few new skills. Cooking.
Yes, you have. Yes, you have.
Cooking. Because, for someone like myself, a single woman, I'm used to, hey, Uber Eats, going out to my favorite restaurants. And here, we can't, for the first 5 weeks, we didn't have Uber Eats, no takeaway, nothing. So I was forced to cook. So definitely learned that, and also learned to breathe a little bit and only control the things that, only worry about the things that I can control. So that was something that, you just had to learn.
Yeah, I was actually really shocked that you said you didn't know how to cook, because you are from Memphis, honey. Like, how did that even happen? That's probably a whole other conversation. I was like, what? 'Cause, we're this group chat, the sisters group chat of expat Black women in South Africa, and Kenna been showing her home cooked meals. I'm like, go ahead, girl. I'm so proud of you.
I tell people that Yeah, I tell people that, for years, I don't know, maybe I don't want to say I'm a pampered princess or anything like that, but I mean, when you live by yourself, it's just so easy to just run up and go get something very quickly instead of cooking. The time it would take for me to cook a full course meal, I could have picked it up and paid for it, for cheaper somewhere else.
Mm.
So, this was one of those situations where, I'm all, cooking every day now and making more complex dishes. Like this weekend, I made a Jamaican steamed fish. I've already made peach cobbler. I'm like, who am I?
Right. I didn't I can cook, but I'm single too. I cook when I'm in a relationship.
Mhm.
But like now, like I was Uber Eats all the time, like every single day. I haven't,
Same here.
yeah, especially since I've been back in South Africa. But even though they opened up Uber Eats again, I'm a little bit skeptical, and like this probably sounds, just American as fuck, but my concern is that like most of the service community, they live in
Hmm.
townships, so it's impossible
Hmm.
to socially distance. If it's 10 people in a house and communal
Yeah,
bathrooms,
it's
like,
hard.
yeah.
It's
So I'm
hard. It's
like,
definitely hard.
I'm far less apt to do participate in Uber Eats as much as I'm like, I guess I'm starting to like cooking more for myself. I guess it's an act of
Yeah,
self-care. It's an act of self-care for sure.
I just don't like these dishes.
Girl, I know. I was like, I wish it was like paper pots and pans because there was a such thing. So, okay, I want you to kind of walk me through your trajectory of becoming an expat because, as I mentioned in your bio, you are an aerospace engineer by trade and you've been a voracious traveler for a number of years. So, what led you to retire and relocate to South Africa from California?
Well, I knew for years that I wanted to move overseas, but I wasn't sure how the process would work. And, could I do this? Can I afford this? Am I crazy? Am I going nuts? 2015, I had an accident. Later that year, well, that year I basically started, made the decision to just live my life however I wanted to live it. If I didn't care what people thought about what I did, didn't care if they didn't like anything about me because, you know, I'm the one that has to live my life. So 2015, around November or so, I remember telling my parents that, hey, I want to take a couple of years off work. I'm sorry, a couple of months off work just to refocus because I was disappointed in my job. You apply for promotions and then they tell you that you don't qualify, you don't have enough experience, and then you see someone else get the position and you're like, are you serious? Are you
Mm,
serious? This
mm,
person really? And I
mm.
just said, fine. 2018, my mother passed away, and then
Oh,
two
oh
days after
wow,
she
I'm
passed
sorry.
away, thank you. 2 days after she passed away, my coworker who sat next to me at work passed away.
Oh,
And one of the things that really helped me, I guess, push out to leave was basically 2 weeks after that happened, I went back to work and I had my performance evaluation. And my supervisor at the time, she told me, she says, you're on task to get everything done for this year. However, I had asked for 2 months off work to grieve. I don't want to be at work crying every day. So I go, during my performance evaluation, she says, if you could take 2 months off work without, because I wanted to do this without getting paid. And she said, if you can do this, you must be doing all right in life. And also, just to let you know, if you do this, you are replaceable.
mm.
And I said, I'm replaceable. I didn't say anything at that time because I knew if I had opened my mouth, the
You might
Memphis
get
would have came
replaced.
out.
Girl, wait, we
The
from
Memphis
South
would have
Memphis or
come
North
out.
Memphis, honey? South Memphis, which part of
Uh,
Memphis you from?
I'm a little southeast. It was going to come out. So, she says, you are replaceable.
Mm,
And, but she told me during that time that, I was really upset. I was angry. Like, my mother just passed away. My just passed away who worked with me. This is what you have to tell me. But she told me one thing. She says, you should pursue your real passions in life. If you decide to leave this job, we will miss you, but we understand. But at the time, I couldn't hear that. I couldn't hear that. I was really upset with her because I was like, what the hell? What is this? Why are you telling me this? But I realized, after the fact, that her words were basically trying to push me to do what I really wanted to do, which was leave. I was unhappy at work. I was at the point where I was at work. I ended up, after that situation with my former supervisor, I moved to a different department, and it got to the point where I was coming to work, and it's, some of the doors, they have like a little window you can look through before you walk into a building. I would look through the little window, and if I saw someone coming down the hall, I would wait until they would leave before I would walk into the office, because I didn't want to see anybody. So that's when I knew, hey, you got to go. This is not working out for you. You need to go. So I left a almost 20-year career working as an aerospace engineer, and basically quit and moved to South Africa. And I've been here since last year.
Wow, that's an amazing story, and it's also a reoccurring theme with many of the Black women that I've interviewed, myself included. You have these corporate, in my case, like academic jobs, and just the bureaucracy and the rampant white supremacy and people who are grossly underqualified being given promotions. It's crazy. I'm glad you chose freedom. I'm glad you were brave enough to choose freedom. Yeah. Definitely. The geo arbitrage in South Africa is great. You earning dollars in this mug, you living real well. So there was right, and there wasn't an interruption with your standard of living. Sometimes people have this idea of Africa being like underdeveloped. No, dear. Like, at least here, the infrastructure in South Africa is amazing. Yeah, and the quality of life.
Definitely.
And obviously I'm speaking of the quality of life from a Western lens. I'm aware of that privilege. So, okay. In 2017, you founded your travel company and the hashtag Book That Ish. How did that idea come along, and when did you know that you could monetize your hobby of planning trips for your friends and turn it into a viable business?
Book That Ish. Book That Ish was it's something that I was just saying it as a joke, book that ish, book that ish, book that ish. I would say it on every thread in all of these travel groups and what have you. And I just, kept saying it, whatever, it just became a lifestyle at that point. And I have a friend that's an attorney, and, she was like, why aren't you, making this a trademark? I was like, okay. So I finally made it a trademark back then. As far as the travel company, this was one of those things where, I really, I don't know, I would say it's one of those things where I became a business person on a fluke. This wasn't my plan. This wasn't my idea, because I was doing this basically as a hobby. I go to my full-time job in the daytime, and in the evening I would post on Facebook and say, hey, here's a flight deal to Peru, Costa Rica, Dubai, or wherever. Who wants to go? And next thing I know, I've got 20, 30 people signing up. I started a little Facebook group, and I say, hey, okay, I don't know what you guys are going to do, but this is what I'm going to do, my full itinerary, and this is where I'm going to stay, and this is the car I'm going to use, or whatever. And I said, you can follow me if you can, or if you want to, but you're not required. Next thing I know, the whole group will follow. So, so I did so many of those to the point where I was like, yo, this is work. Because, when you're planning trips, a lot of people, those in the travel industry, we like to joke and say that people think all we do is book Viator trips. No, we don't. But, I spent a lot of time and a lot of nights, talking to vendors in other countries, and I realized, this is work. People are getting paid for this. I'm up late, trying to communicate with someone in a different time zone. And one of my best friends, and then my attorney again, basically said, what are you doing? Why aren't you turning this into a business? So technically speaking, I guess I had been really doing this since 2014. not realizing what I was doing was actually a business. And then in 2017, I incorporated and turned into a LLC under my name.
Wow. Okay. So, obviously, this pandemic has changed every industry, and the travel industry has been particularly hit. How do you see your company like pivoting and adapting to a post-pandemic world?
Really great question, especially right now. We are, I don't want to say I guess you could say we're in a holding pattern at this time. I'm currently involved in several tourism think tank groups here in South Africa, and also involved with other smaller groups. So we're all talking, discussing what the next plans are. However, I don't think anyone really has a definite answer. We see places opening up, but until it's fully open, I think we're going to be, I don't want to say the standstill, but at a point where it's going to be maybe a little bit longer. I've already moved some of my 2020 itineraries off to 2021 already. Who knows what's going to happen here. So hopefully things will open back up, or else I'm going to become a official bootlegger because I'm drinking too much alcohol here. So that's where we are now. But no, seriously, I do think that we will recover. It may take a little bit longer than what we expect. I'm hearing some places are saying, maybe September, October. Some places are saying maybe January. We don't know. However, I do feel like we will recover. It may take time, but people need to realize that, be flexible, and realize, we all want to go. I mean, I had my flights canceled from March to July, and I've got other flights I'm pretty sure are going to get canceled as well. But, we will recover.
Yeah, I'm really, personally, I'm like, I don't think that people are really going to want Americans in their damn countries looking at this like abysmal response to the crises. I wonder
that's another thing too.
That's like a huge consideration right now, because unfortunately we're like the laughing stock of the world. Our response, I wouldn't even call it a response.
Yeah.
That's
a lot of things. Here, I was gonna say, here in the local think tank group I'm in here in South Africa, they realize that a lot of their funding for these trips, they're coming from outsiders, whether they're coming from the European countries, they're coming from the Americas, or Australia, New Zealand, these places, and they're realizing now that tourism here locally, they're saying for probably the first couple of months will have to be domestic tourism. And how do we get people to see the beauty of, where they're from? Like even in America, there's some states that I need to go to. Maybe eventually I'll get there.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's an important pivot too. Okay, I'm glad that there. I mean, I'm glad that there are think tanks, and that you guys are like actively ideating on what's to come.
Definitely. We meet I was gonna say, these think tank groups, every day we have what I would call like a homework that we have to do. So they post a question in the group, and every day you must respond to, what do you think about this? How to do this? And, it's been really, really helpful, instead of people, I don't want to say crying, but to the point where people are like, oh, help me. It's like, sometimes you need to help yourself, and helping yourself can be reaching out, helping other people, talking about, okay, I have an idea. What do you think about this? So those groups have been very, very helpful for that.
Wow, that's good. So I mentioned in your bio that you are a descendant of Matthew Henson, who was an African-American explorer, and he went on 7 voyages to the Arctic in the 19th century. That's like amazing pedigree. So first of all, do you believe in the concept of epic memory, which is like the idea that DNA, ancestral DNA, has memory and it's embedded in us? And how do you think sharing his DNA has influenced the manner in which you explore?
Another excellent question. Definitely, I would say yes. I do feel like those of our ancestors that have passed on, obviously passed on, their spirits still live in us, and we can, cherish that, hone that in the way that we live our lives. I mean, personally, I would say not necessarily for Matthew Henson, but more so for my grandmother, Eudora Henson Small. She was a phenomenal woman and loved to travel. She never made it overseas. However, I used to joke when I lived in California that my grandmother was the only relative that visited me more than anyone else in my family, which
Oh, wow.
is unusual because she was the type of person where she didn't have a lot of money, but she would get on a bus, get in a car and go from Mississippi to California with my cousins,
Wow.
just because she wanted to see the world, see things, or whatever. I wish that she had still been around where we could go other places. Wherever she passed in 2014, but I do believe that her spirit of wanting to go places, traveling, and things of that nature definitely passed on to me. And then looking further into the other Hensons with Matthew Henson, definitely with that explorer type spirit, definitely, I would say that's definitely with me.
That's how old was your grandmother getting on a bus from Mississippi to California?
Ooh, she was at that time. She probably was in her maybe late. Yes, I was in the 80s,
Oh, that's
maybe in her 80s.
beautiful. That is so beautiful. I love that independence. She would get up and go. That's
Yes, she was
that's
not playing.
interesting because I mean I've been overseas for almost 10 years now, and the only family aside from the little ungrateful ones that I sponsor trips for, the only
Hmm.
the only relative that came to see me was my 75-year-old uncle at the time. He flew
Wow.
from LA to had a layover in Dubai to Qatar to visit me, and he stayed for 2 weeks. The only relative, honey, that came on
Wow.
that. Yeah, so you I dig that. I dig that.
Now my
So
cousins, I was saying they travel with me, so I'm used to them going places with me.
so kind of on a more somber note, in 2015, you endured an unthinkable tragedy in Panama, while on a trip with some friends from No Madness Travel. And unfortunately, some friends passed away in an accident, and you were one of the survivors. How did that experience like change you and change your perspective on life? And I mean, this is kind of a weird question, but I mean, I
Hmm.
kind of hear this concept. Did you suffer with any kind of survivor's remorse?
Okay. With this question, let's see the experience. Definitely having that, going through this particular accident, which for those that don't know, 2015, I was in Panama, had an accident. It was with 12 other people. We were up in the hills of Panama. Unfortunately, our vehicle lost control and we went over a cliff.
Mm.
And during that accident, at the time that it was happening, um, I don't know that this is probably the calmest I've ever been in my entire life, where I had just realized and said, okay, if this is my life, this is how it ends. So
Wow.
be it. I was doing what I love to do, which was travel. So
Wow.
I was okay with whatever happened at that particular moment. So I basically did a, and that was it. But obviously, I survived that accident. That particular accident gave me the opportunity to really live at this point, to the point where as I was mentioning earlier, I just do what I want to do. I don't care what people think about me. I don't care what people say about me. I just do whatever, because at this point, I've already, gotten so close to death that what more can you take from me? What more can you do to me? Nothing. I've already seen it, nothing at this time. So it changes you to appreciate life a lot better. So you are more in tune, more thankful, more grateful for things. And one interesting thing I said about this particular accident was it allowed me to right all the wrongs that I had done in my life. A lot of people know me and they're like, "Oh, you seem so perfect." I'm like, please, not even, because no one is. And I joke about this now, but I had surgery for my accident. I was in Panama in the hospital for about a week, flew to the States to my parents' house, and had surgery in Memphis. I think a week or so after that surgery, I called my ex-husband. I called him, apologized for everything I had ever said to him, everything I had put him through or whatever. And the first thing he told me, he says, "Are you on drugs?" I was like, "Well, I guess I'm kind of hooked." I was like, "I'm kind of hooked up to morphine, so I guess you could say I am." So that allowed me to put a situation where I have done a lot of wrong and just basically make that situation right. As far as suffering survivor's remorse, no one has ever asked me this question. So this is the first time I've actually answered this. I don't feel like I suffered any survivor's remorse. I'm not saying that what happened to our two friends was fair, but it's one of those things where I could not control that. Right. You know, we had no idea who was going to survive, who was going to have what injuries. Everybody in this particular accident had some type of serious injury, whether you had a broken back, you know, whether you had a broken ankle, your arm was cut up, or whatever the situation was. And I think, I don't call it survivor's remorse. It was more of a thing where the people in this particular group, I don't know, they're like forever my blood sisters and blood brothers at this point in life. And we do try to, you know, keep in contact as much as possible. And every January I'm in Panama during that time frame as a reminder of this was your life. You know, this is where you started. So although I'm American, I tell people after having a life-changing accident, wherever you have that life-changing accident, that place becomes your home. So I tell people I'm an honorary Panamanian at this point. To the point I actually have it tattooed on my back. So
oh, you have I am a Panamanian. It says I am a Panamanian.
No, I've got some Panama stuff I'm tattooed on my back. Not I'm honorary Panamanian. But I'm just trying to get that done now.
You know what? I know a police officer that got his badge number tattooed on him, and I just was like, "Oh, okay."
That might be too much.
Yeah, it's a lot. So, I'm one of the reasons I interviewed you was because your name kept coming up in like several of the interviews I've done, and I was speaking to Avita. I did an interview with her about a month ago, and
okay,
yeah, and one of the things she remarked about you, because I mean we OGs with Tribe, so we was there like day one. Yes. We've seen how it has morphed, and you know there's been divisions and so forth and so on. She said of all of the groups that spawned after No Madness, and No Madness was the first. Let me make that abundantly clear. It was the first. She said that you went about doing your business so gracefully, and it wasn't no undercutting. It wasn't no like, you know, poaching people from her group. She really sang your praises as a businesswoman. So that's good. You have a reputation that precedes you, my dear.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, I can't say the same about everybody. That's a whole other show because there's so much tea. One day I want to do some like anonymous tea because there was so much shit going on in that group and just not mention no names. Anyway, I'm a petty bitch.
Yes.
Onward. Onward. We won't go that direction. So what's the biggest lesson that you've learned about stepping outside of your comfort zone?
Biggest lesson is, well, there's several, but one that I can think of off the top of my head now is true happiness is doing what you really love. And stepping outside your comfort zone will give you the ability to reach what you really want. You're living your goals, your desires, your dreams, without any interruption from others. Well, let me take that back, because there may be some interruptions from others, but it's up to you to manage that interruption, whether to delete it, forget it, block those people, or whatever, because I've had my fair share of people not happy with my current decision. But I'm a grown woman and I will do what I want.
Period. So, I mean, one of the reasons I even started this Black Broads Abroad platform is to encourage, to build a community of Black expat women, and then like you provide a sisterhood for those who want to make the transition. So what advice do you have for Black women that are considering the idea of becoming expats, and especially like mature Black women? We not like spring chickens. So, I mean, what advice do you have for like fully grown women who want to make the jump?
Well, one thing is your life is getting shorter. So do it now. How much time do you really have? Go ahead and do this. Don't look at how old you are. I'm over 40, and I'd make this move being over 40. I left a very well-paying job just to do what I want to do. And I could not be more happier than doing this. Don't be afraid to give up some things. I jokingly tell people I left a 3-story condo to move into a 1-bedroom apartment, which I'm okay with. I still own the house in California. However, happiness is not determined by material things. It is the ability to say, I can get up in the morning and decide, what, let me go answer my client emails this morning. Or, what, I think I feel like avocado toast today, or whatever the case is. Basically, just do it. Just do it, no matter what your age is. As long as you can get there, follow the visa procedures or whatever, just go. Just go.
Yeah, that's good advice.
Just book that ish.
That's what I was
just
about
book
to
that
say. Right? But that's the whole word about having less. And I can say that, like, I've had, the trappings of she, foo-foo lifestyle across continents. And I am here in South Africa in a studio apartment with a quarter of my belongings here with me. And I am happy as fuck. You like packing light, pack light.
Yes. Okay.
That's a real thing. Okay.
You know what? You just brought up a really interesting point. You're talking about packing light. I know for me, when I left the States, I basically got rid of everything I had. I had 2 cars. One car I gave away to one of my relatives. The other car I sold for dirt cheap because I just didn't want nothing. I, sold everything in my house, whatever I didn't sell, gave it away to friends, put my house up for rent, and I came here with 4 bags. That's it. Yeah. And I decided that's all I really need. Everything else, I just don't care. And, I had people who were like, are you crazy? Everything just gone, because these material things didn't make me happy. I was sitting in a job making a really nice salary, and I still wasn't, and here I am, here in my little less than 500 square foot apartment overlooking Santon. And I'm like, yo, this is life. This is great. So, but it works for me. It never works for others, but it works for me.
I like that you're in the bougie part. By the way, Kenna lives in Santon, which is the richest square mile in Africa. It's so beautiful there. It's so beautiful. Yeah, I think that like people's imaginations of Africa is so limiting. So I really like that you had your group trips. You had over 100 people show up to your group trip in South Africa. Because I bumped into you at the damn hospital when Claire broke.
Yes.
Only Claire could break her leg or chasing waterfalls. Okay, yes. Only Claire. Thank God she's here now. But
Yes,
that's
definitely.
how I found out that you were in South Africa. So I'm glad to finally have a real conversation with you after almost a decade.
Yes. The last time I saw you, well, besides November, was 2014 in Dubai.
Yeah. Yeah, I had just moved to Qatar, and I didn't know it was like, I didn't even know you were gonna be there. We were at a we were at a brunch at the Atlantis. Like, brunches are probably over. Ah, especially
I
like
don't know.
5-star brunches. Oh, there's nothing like
Uh-huh.
fucking Middle East brunch
Yes.
turn up, honey.
Yes.
There's nothing
I
on.
think they're probably going to start bringing the food to the table, if anything.
Yeah. I don't even want to be at no bougie buffet, honey. Anyway, what's next for you, and where can people keep up with you on social media?
Social media, people can find me mainly on my Instagram page, which is just me Kenna, and that's Kenna, just me Kenna, Kenna, or my other page, which is book that ish, and that's BOOKDATISHT. Or you can find me. I have a website as well, which is Kenna L Williams LLC.com, or just look me up on Facebook. You can find me pretty much anywhere.
Thank you
But
so
as far as what's for me is, I don't know. That's a really good question. I think I'm probably going to, because if I'm here for the rest of the year, I don't know. I've been thinking about this lately. One thing I want to do is try to learn some of the local languages here. Get enrolled into some online classes, like I think most people are doing these days, enrolling into online classes. Perfect my cooking, and get one of these hooch recipes down packed. I'm already working on a second batch right now, so I'm finding that I'm becoming more domesticated, which this is a new side of me. but it's cool. It's cool.
At first I was like, but you know what? Now I'm like, I'm falling into it. I haven't been this domestic since I was married. I've been outsourcing this shit for the past decade.
Same here.
Right?
It's been a decade for me.
But I'm falling into my role again. I'm liking cleaning my own house and cooking my own food. And now I have the time to do it. So that's been
that part, the time, yes.
Yeah, thank you so much for your time.
Shout out to our Patreon members. Thank you so much for your support. If you too are interested in supporting the Black Broads Abroad movement, keep up with us on social media, and that's at Black Broads Abroad, BlackBroadsAbroad, and that's on IG and Facebook. And if you're interested in supporting on Patreon, visit www.patreon.com/Black Broads Abroad.